Hello everyone, I'm Andrew or Wazzup, and today I wanted to do just sort of a coverage of the rebalancing patch notes. So this is for the Under New Management expansion. This is coming out to Toontown, and I'm really excited about this one. It's a lot. So I just want to kind of preface this with, I was originally gonna do a blind kind of reaction, but the timing didn't really work out, and also I kind of thought about it more and figured it would be better to do a little bit more of a breakdown of each point, especially now that all the playtesting is happening. This is the final day that I think the playtesting is occurring. It's the 25th of February. So yeah, I guess that's just sort of what I wanted to do. This is a huge update. So this is not some kind of small patch notes. This is going to affect how you play the game from now on. So it is, generally speaking, a big update. And I think it's pretty worthy of calling it an expansion here. So yeah, I guess I'll just sort of get started. I didn't really want to read some of it because I'm not the best orator, but pretty much the premise of this update is to reduce the facility times and to rework a lot of the gags entirely. So these changes are going to affect everything. So they might not have changed certain things, but the changes themselves might have affected something else. So that's just something to keep in mind with this. It's a pretty big update, but they preface here at the bottom, if you're a longtime Toontown player and are familiar with the current meta, don't fret. While rebalances to the battle system may sound alarming at first, we aim to preserve what makes Toontown special for so many of our players, while adding what we feel will help those battles continue to stand out as newer challenges get added to the game. So pretty much saying don't freak out. These changes aren't just keep an open mind. It's generally kind of what I'm getting from this, and I am. So I'm usually kind of the person that really likes to avoid big systemic changes, but I will say that there's been a lot of positives with this expansion that I really like, especially this part here with the associated grind. This is something that I've been talking about for years. I've been making videos about it for years because it's a design flaw with the game. But yeah, I'll get to that later. So I'll just keep going. Here. So this first sort of area, it sort of breaks down how they changed the stunning bonus. So trap placements, successful lures, rewards, doodle tricks, successful tune-ups. They don't provide stun bonuses anymore. So this is really, really big. So just placing the trap itself, I'm pretty sure, I'm not sure if this is exactly true, but I did it anyways with some of my friends. We would trap door and then double cake just to boost the cake's accuracy. I don't know if it actually worked or not, but it's saying here that trap placements may have provided stuns because the trap itself sort of counts as a perfect or whatever, and that counts as a stun since it worked before the throw. So I'm not exactly sure if that's how it worked. I could be totally wrong. If I'm wrong, please correct me in the comments. I'm definitely open to learning. But yeah, the biggest one here I would say is probably the tune-up, just from just thinking quickly about it, because I used to use Tuneup just to boost my lure's accuracy a lot, and this not being able to stun your lure, it changes how you sort of go about lure. You usually want to well, yeah, I'll get to that. I'll get to that later. But yeah, using Tuneup to lure is no longer in effect. So this affects other stuff too, field offices too. If you need to tune up and lure, I guess I don't know why you just circumstantially that would be gone and you wouldn't be able to get that bonus. So that's kind of the biggest blow here for me, I think. But let me know what you guys think about that. This next part here says damage dealing gag attacks such as sound hits, throw hits, and squirt hits will now grant a stun bonus of 25% to upcoming battle actions in that round instance instead of 20. So if you use, like an Auga or whatever, and, a drop, it'll be 25% of an increase. So it's pretty nice. Like, this is pretty small, but 5%, like anything with a percent, never ever underestimate like what the difference can make, because percentages affect numbers kind of differently. I know it's like obvious, but like it really can sort of make a difference. A lot of these changes seem pretty minor, but in the long run, I feel like will be pretty nice. So drop hits also provide stuns, but nothing goes after drop. So it's, it doesn't really do anything. And it says SOS tunes that utilize damaging gags do perform stuns for upcoming actions. So this is great, if you use like SOS Mo, SOS Sound, or whatever. They will perform stuns. I don't know if this will work for like some of the special SOS, like Rocky and that Loopy Loop and Loop tune. I don't know. I feel like those ones are kind of weird. They don't do like lure knockback, and there's some weird interactions there. But and then this bottom part here, track activation hits now grant a stun bonus of 30%. So this is if you place your trap and have it lured successfully, it'll be at 30%. So the trap itself won't provide the 20% bonus anymore, but if it works, it's saying here that it'll now grant a stun bonus of 30% to upcoming battle actions. So this is great too, because throw isn't really accurate, but if you trap before it, it'll grant that stun bonus of 30% to upcoming battle actions. So this is great, because this is going to make trap work a lot better with drop and throw, those less accurate gags, because it's giving them that 30% bonus if it works. So I can just imagine situations where you trap and then SOS and then throw or drop or whatever, and you just almost always hit. But these bonuses mean a little bit less too, because just real quick, in some of the facilities they've added 13s, I'm pretty sure, and your gags are less accurate on those cogs than like level 12s or 11s, or I'm pretty sure it just keeps increasing. So the higher they are, the less, I guess the more it matters and the less it matters in some ways. It kind of goes both ways there. So they list here is lure now considered less reliable in the sense of group battles, yes, but don't worry, we have some new things to accommodate for that to help synergize lure with itself and partially with trap still. So my personal impression from this is that lure got a pretty massive buff, despite what I mentioned previously here with the successful tune-ups no longer providing stuns. I still think lure got a lot stronger here. So this next section focuses on the battle interface. I'm not going to really talk about this too much. It's pretty self-explanatory. Pretty much instead of a circle icon, dividing it by certain fractions. I forgot what the fraction is. I think it's like 83 or 66. But it splits up the 100 up and will show different colors based on that. Now it'll show a bar. So this is nice because you can kind of gauge how much damage you did, instead of just having to calculate everything. So it's less manual, it's more visual, and I think that this is a great change. Personally, I like the circle icons, but I think that the bars are better indicators for people, and they're going to be helpful for me. So honestly, it's the move, I think. yeah, I don't have really much else to say. I think it looks pretty great. So this next part, I genuinely, I'm not sure what to think about it. So the following change is a subtle one that will impact all gag tracks and their respective organic bonuses. With this change, some gags may subtly increase by 1 damage when organic. Organic bonus logic. All instances of organic bonus are now calculated rounded up instead of down. I'm not exactly sure what this means. This could be with like the 65, 67, or whatever percents when they're boosted. I don't know. I genuinely don't know. Yeah. So this next one, Tuneup. This is kind of a bigger one, but not really, because I feel like this is kind of making up for something else. So, I feel like most people would agree that organic tune-up is not generally seen as a viable option, mostly because not because it's like bad, but because most of the other options are more, or they're less situational, they're more beneficial in most situations. They, like, organic sound, you used to just blow through the whole game. Organic throw, it was great for a bunch of facilities, for field offices. Organic drop had its benefits. A lot of people like trap. With all those different tracks, why choose Tuneup? Especially now that it got a nerf. So I kind of wanted to talk about that. So the Tuneup, a lot of the Tuneup gags got nerfs, and I feel like that made a little bit of a difference, but mostly in terms of like the field offices is where you feel it the most. But it is kind of interesting. So with that, the gag itself has gotten worse, which means the organic version of it has also gotten worse at the same time, since it's a 10% bonus of the original gag. And since the original gag was decreased, so was the 10%. So, yeah. So it kind of, here, seeing it get boosted by 20%, this is 20% after that debuff. So this 20% is pretty nice. Like, I feel like it should have been 20% from the bat based off the original gag. I feel like that would have been maybe enticing enough, because you could be like a healer or just, I don't know. It has its uses, especially with it used to being able to provide stuns. Now with that gone, Tuneup is even less, I guess, less important, and I won't be using it as much. I usually don't use Tuneup that much anyways, so this is kind of, it's neat, but I don't think it's honestly enough, and I think that's like kind of weird saying, because 20%, that's double what it used to be, but it's just, I don't think it's enough. We'll see how the community sees this. Okay, this next area here, I really wanted to talk about, because I feel like Lure, it got a lot stronger, and there's a lot of reasons why. So they adjusted the base Lure accuracy across all Lure gags. All of them got an increase by 5 or 10%, except for the presentation. This one got a debuff. So the $1 bill, 50 to 60%. This is great for training early on, especially if you're like in Donald's Dock or whatever and you first get Lure. I'll get to some of the Lure bonuses, but pretty much the gist of it is that double luring will give you a Lure bonus. So just having it increased by default and then being able to increase it even more, this is great because you have a lot more direct control over your accuracy. So small magnet, 50 to 55, this is a 5%, so it seems like the group lures were increased by 5%, but the single lures were increased by 10%. So I saw that this makes them, I think, medium, like for $10 bill, for at 80%. That's pretty solid. 80%. This is great because the higher they increase these cogs, the more accurate you're going to want your lure to be in these types of situations. So all around, great. The presentation, though, I don't know how I feel about that. I know Lure's getting reworked a lot, and 90 is pretty nice. This is great. You're pretty much going to be using your presentations to boost your accuracy for your other gags anyways, now that it uses the highest gag. So presentation pretty much just gives you that highest chance, but now it's decreased. So presentation on itself isn't as accurate. So this really changes how it works in a lot of places too, I think. So yeah, so this is the next change that I just mentioned. Higher lure, and they now override anything. So if you use like a presentation with a small magnet, it's going to use the 90% and not the 55, even if it's not maxed. I'm pretty sure, because this is the base lure accuracy. So this is just one of the like factors, I guess. Yeah, so organic lure now shifts the base accuracy of lure by an additional 10% rather than being an additive bonus. This base accuracy shift better determines who the overriding lure gag is. So this is an inadvertent buff to organic lure. So since your organic lure is being buffed by that, what is it, 10%? I can't even, yeah. You're going to be getting that 10% plus on top of this, I'm pretty sure. So that's going to even better boost other people's accuracy. So even just using, like, bringing like big magnets and small magnets, whatever, they're going to be increasing other people's gags, which is kind of crazy. And this last part, so this is the multi-lure bonus. So this is what I mentioned earlier. Pretty much this part involves using more than one lure gag. So if you use more than one, you're going to get different boosts. So I'm pretty sure this goes based off the tiers here. So like these are like the tier 1 lures, tier 2, tier 3, and then level 7. Pretty sure it'll grant based on that level. So the highest ones will give a higher bonus. The medium ones will give like a 15% and then a 10%. So this is going to be great for group lures. You're just going to be double luring a lot, and you're mostly going to be using your higher lures, less so for the turns, I guess, and more so for the accuracy now. Oh, and this is some pretty important information. So group lures paired with another group lure yield a lure bonus. Dollar bills paired with another dollar bill yield lure bonus. Group lures and dollar bills used simultaneously do not grant lure bonus. So it's important that you use group lures with group lures and dollar bills with dollar bills. And yeah, they don't grant bonuses when used together. So I'm glad they stated this very clearly. This is great. It's not confusing how they stated it. You want to pair similar lures with similar lures to get that lure bonus. Okay. So they mentioned that it's time to address the elephant trunk in the room. Yes, this is the change a lot of people have been fearing for years. It's here. It's here. I still don't know how I feel about it. It's gonna be the most noticeable change of this entire update, for sure. This affects everything. This is a huge nerf, but it's also not as bad as you would think. I generally agree with a lot of their sentiment here, with some of the reasoning. It is more balanced. It's way more balanced, but the game was also reworked too. So those are two things happening at the same time that we'll have to see. We'll have to see how it works. But this is definitely a change in their focus for the most part, which is like the main thing here. So this is the main facility change, where you're not going to be spamming sound through the whole thing. They want you to be using other gags be having a little bit more dynamic gameplay throughout the facility, and throw in like a boss fight at the end. So with this rework, I think it is more balanced, but it's kind of crazy going down to different stuff. So let's just get down to it. So they decreased the maximum carrying capacity of all sound gags. This is what Trap was before the 3.0.0 update of the field offices. So this means you get 2 fogs, you get 5 trunks, I think. I don't quite remember. You get less ogas, and it's like, whoa. Like, you can't spam sound as much. So I still have organic sound. I don't know how I feel about it. I might switch. I might not. We'll see. It just depends on what I like using when multi-tuning. Honestly, I'm kind of open to it because with some of these changing, like, I've been using organic sound for years. Since some people put me on, I've never changed my mind, especially with me multi-tuning more. Like, organic sound was absolutely the method. I don't know if it still will be. It seemed pretty good in the playtesting, since it can still take out like level 12s with 3 orc fogs. There's some pretty good stuff that's still there, but man, like, taking away one of the fogs, you have so much less. Like, instead of having 12 as a group, you have, like, 8. So it's a huge decrease. So this next area here, this one's pretty nice. I love this change. This is like one of the greatest changes, I think. It's very, very small, but I don't like training sound. A lot of people say, how do you not like training sound? When I multi-tune, which is usually what I do, I usually run quads through the task line because I feel like that's fun. I enjoy it. It's kind of relaxing, and just having to train sound has always been a pain because it's always been unnecessarily high. Like why? Whistle being 40, like, you just sit there in Toontown Central spamming the bike horn. Like, why was it 40? Why was it 40? I'm sorry, but, like, come on. Yes, this is way better. Way, way better. This is substantially better, especially for this foghorn. 6,000, this is like the benchmark. This is great. 7,500, what were they thinking? Giving you the foghorn like right at the end. Great. You get the foghorn and then you max it out in a few facilities and then you never need your other gags again. Like, give it to us earlier now that it's weaker and you're giving us less sound. I think this is great. But that is something to keep in mind. With less sound, training is affected too. So, yeah, we'll see. This is, I feel like, a highlight. I don't know if people really like think of this one as like great, but like I said earlier, a 5%, any percent increase is a good increase, especially for Squirt in particular, and Throw, when paired with Lure and another Squirt or Throw of the same like type, they'll provide up to a 70% bonus. So having organic increases that a lot. 10% to one of those gags. Now it's 15%. So I'm pretty sure the organic cloud does like 92? 92? That takes out like level 8s? Like, okay. That's good. That's really good. It still takes out level 10s when lured. So, like, there's a lot of interactions. We found out in the playtesting, if you lure a level 9 and use an organic hose and a regular hose, it'll take it out now. So your hoses can pretty much be somewhat replacements for your whole cream pies instead. So this is a great change. It's pretty small. We'll have to see. I'd love to get some of the combos down, but this 5%, I'm happy with this. I don't even know if I have a tune with organic Squirt right now. I think I have one. He might be orc drop. I genuinely don't remember. But if I do, this is going to be great. I love this. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's my polar bear. My polar bear has org squirt for like CEOs or whatever back in the day. And this will be nice. This will be a good change. So trap now provides a 10% accuracy bonus to any lure gags used on cogs with the trapped status effect. So this accuracy bonus is applicable to either the same or future turns. Does not stack with multiple trap gags with a group lure. So this is great because on top of trap not providing a stun for others, it'll provide a stun for lure specifically. So a 10% on top of that 5 to 10% increase from before, this is great. So your traps are going to be like hitting all the time for the most part, unless unless you're just really unlucky. I feel like. So yeah, and it also says for future turns. So you can set up traps and get the lure bonus later. You can really plan ahead. We had a few situations where we planned ahead on the East Wing, and it was pretty cool seeing a lot of the different ways this could be applied. And oh yeah, so there's a small change. Lowered the quicksand from 800 to 500. I love this change. This is another change. Like I feel like trap is really annoying to train because not only do you have to place the trap, you have to depend on your lure to hit, and then you have to wait for the trap to work, which takes more time. Sometimes the trap doesn't defeat the cog too, and it's like in an awkward range, and it's kind of awkward to train, and having it reduced by 300 points, that's great. I love it. So this last part just says that they changed it from low to very low to better show the base accuracy. I think this is pretty nice. People should know that drop, generally speaking, should be very low, but they should also be aware of stuns. Not everyone is aware of stuns, but I feel like it is generally well known. But having this laid out here in patch notes like this, very neatly presented, is great, and I feel like it really helps the public catch up to speed for a lot of the changes that are coming. So yeah. This final part here, increasing the organic drop damage from 10 to 15%. This is another change, very subtle, but at the same time, this is pretty awesome. So organic pianos, they will take out level 12s straight up. I don't know about much else, but that 5% on top of drops already like really high base damage, this is going to be really great. Especially if you like double dropping, like there's probably some sick combos now with safes and stuff. So we'll have to see, especially for field offices too. Like if you have organic drop and you're soundless or something, yeah, that 5%, it's probably gonna do pretty nice stuff for you. This part I don't really want to cover this much. I'm pretty sure this is just saying like you can talk to Ripley to get a different level 7 if you regret your choice or something. After obtaining the Smasher badge and receiving an extra level 7 of choice, but now constantly offers a new difficult task. So yeah. This next one, I still don't know how I feel about it, and I don't know if I've even like fully grappled with this last part, but so they removed the defensive attribute. It says that block the damage per gag on level of the version 2.0. I think this is great. I liked the plating idea. I didn't like that it applied to every single gag. I feel like it should have applied to the first one in that turn, or there could have been something else, but it was too defensive. Your sounds did nothing because the higher the cog was, the more resistant it was. So it was kind of an exponential like regress that it that being removed has improved the flow of the CEO, which I generally like. I like the CEO kind of being like the final boss, but having it done within 30 minutes is nice because then I'll actually be inclined to do it more. So yeah, I think that change is pretty nice. So I'm not exactly sure how this is gonna affect, like if this affects field offices or not. I'm sure it probably will. This might only be for the CEO. I genuinely don't really know, to be honest, because I kind of get this mechanic kind of confused with like if it's just in the field offices or if it's just for 2.0s, and it'll be interesting to like get this down because I feel like I never did. It's one of those things. I haven't done a ton of the new CEOs, but I'm excited for these changes because I feel like these are going to make me want to do them more. So, and it says this bottom part here. I didn't see this in the testing. I don't know if this is like a typo or if this is just something I didn't witness. But when a version 2.0 cog is destroyed, it transforms into a Skelecog. They will now be able to still attack toons rather than skipping their turn. So instead of having these 2.0s be like defensive tanks that you have to just spam your gags on and melt, now when you destroy them, they're going to keep the pressure on and attack you. And now that these boss bots kind of do group attacks, this is going to increase like the pressure that you're going to be feeling in CEOs, which is nice. But when we did our CEO, it was still very, very easy. So we'll have to see how this plays out. So this next part is a very good change. This one's very like covertly worded, I guess, but it has great implications for the whole game. So this part, pretty much like if you're in, it shows an example here. So all cogs will now drop a set amount of promotion experience that directly reflects the cog level. Level 9 cogs will now grant 9 merits instead of 5. So this is really great, you know, if you're fighting like a cog in Boss Bot HQ or something and it's level 10, you're not going to be getting 5. It's not going to be reduced by half. You're going to be getting the full amount. So with this in mind, this means that buildings, I'm pretty sure invasions, like 5-story cog buildings with invasions, they're going to be granting substantially more. In fact, they should be granting roughly about double. So not for like odd levels, since they have to round. They used to round up, looks like. Yeah, they rounded up. Now they just give you the straight amount. So, you know, I'm not sure how this is going to affect it much. I'm pretty sure like with some invasions you can get up to around like close to 500 of the promotion experience from like a really good building or something. That might be closer to like 600, 700, or 800. I don't know, like with a really good building, with invasion, with like tier 8, with like with all the conditions set. Like, I don't know how much it's going to affect it. Probably not by that much, because there's going to be odd and even situations that might round differently. So we'll have to see, but you know, buildings might be viable. And especially, this hasn't even gotten to Cartoonival this year. Like, if there is Cartoonival this year, if there's those double promotion experience on top of this, oh my goodness. Plus, we haven't even gotten to the other changes. It might be insane. Like, genuinely insane. So, version 2.0 cogs now drop twice the amount. I think this is a great change. So this is on top of already the default 1-to-1 ratio. It's now, you're getting you're getting double. So 2.0s. So this more specifically affects boss, I guess, which I don't know exactly how I feel about that, but I think I'm for it. The more experience means the less work you have to do, which is going to help you in the long run. It's going to probably feel nice progressing instead of sometimes like a chore. Sometimes it does feel like a chore, but that just depends on how much energy you want to put into it. So this next one, this is the point. Like, I made a video on this like 8 years ago. Like, it's been a long time. I've been talking about this topic for a long time now. So the ratio for sell bot promotions, cash bot promotions, law bot promotions, and boss bot promotions was like, I'm pretty sure it was like a 63% increase from each one. So like the 5,500 for the max promotion, to the 8,900, to the 14,400, to the 23,300 for boss bot. Those promotion values scaled about 63% from each one. Now, the facilities for each one were vastly different though. The factory gave like a great yield, I would say, for the amount of time. 10 minutes you'll get like if you're doing like a long, about a 10-11 minute run, you'll get the 776 merits. Couldn't think of it for a second. Merits. So with that in mind, if you scale it up for like the Boolean mints, it will take you longer, but you'll get about a comparable amount. So generally speaking, it scales up pretty efficiently for those two. This is why, like, I used to prefer like not law. I don't know if I said that. Sell and cash, because those two bosses, they're very quick, generally pretty easy to grind, and they're about comparable, and they give you great rewards. So it's great to focus on those ones first. Then came law. For years, law was like the black sheep because it gave substantially less. I'm pretty sure it gave you like 1496 or something, like, and like a Boolean. Here, let me pull it up real quick. I don't even know what the Booleans give. So Booleans tend to give like 1200 to 1480, and an Office D would give you like 14 something. So it gave you just a little bit more, but you had to do 63% more of the work, and it took you, 5 to 10 minutes longer than it would a Boolean, depending on the situation. Usually about 5 minutes. So it wasn't really worth it. Plus the reward wasn't great. Law was like, for a long time, it was like, why am I even doing this? It was the last boss I maxed, like, by a long shot. So yeah, that was a change. So boss bot also, this one was also another black sheep because it was another 63% increase, but you were getting about the same ratio as you would like the factory and the Boolean mints. But the problem is that it was separated by floors, and there's a bunch of doors and mini games and battles, and misses happen, and sometimes you don't get your gags, and back nines can take forever. I know you guys have suffered with me here. I haven't done boss in 5 years, and I've thought about it multiple times. I've gotten kind of ready for it. I've got like 6 tunes ready to just get started. Like, I'm ready for boss, but at the same time, I don't have time for hour-long runs anymore. Even with 45-minute runs, I couldn't do anymore. I'm not gonna lie. I couldn't do anymore. But like middle sixes are okay. Like I don't mind the boss bot facilities. It's just when you've done it that many times, and when you have that many max tunes and boss, you kind of lose the appeal there. It doesn't make you want to come back as much. There's less recurring interest there. So I think these changes here are a great remedy. So they pretty much want to state they want you to do about 3 to 4 run-throughs for the challenging variants of the facilities and for other promotions, and about 1 to 2 for like the basic ones. So you're going to be doing like up to 4 facilities and not 7 back nines. You're not going to be doing nearly as much extensive work here for your promotions. A lot stated, but that's pretty much what I wanted to cover. So Cell, it looks like Cell here is unchanged completely, but the facilities themselves were changed. So I've already gotten down like some of the factory routes for at least the easy version. There's some pretty like decent ones. Like the short gives you 400. If you do the short and the boiler, it'll give you 445. So, you know, like if you do almost all of them, it'll give you 574. It's about the same, except the factory's been changed a little bit. So, I think this is probably better. I think Cell is really easy. You're going to be spamming sound through the whole thing anyways. And the hard versions, well, they'll probably be giving you even more. So if you choose to do the harder version, you know, you can do different routes there. So the factory has changed to you can't do the side entrance anymore. You can only do the front. So the way to go, since there's only one entrance now, is to kind of split it up by room. And that's how the routes will take form now. So this will be an interesting change. I've pretty much got some of the routes down, but you can customize your routes a little bit more now. Like if you do the first room and then you take a left, do the boiler and the two pipe rooms, or just one of the pipe rooms, like it's different now. Plus that side entrance room has different level cogs, so that affects something else too. So you can kind of choose your battles selectively and get different amounts, but I think this is great. You don't really need to change Cell. It's like the standard for everything else, I think. Cashbot. So Cashbot caught a bunch of reductions. The 8,900 is now 6,340. So pretty substantial drop. This will be about 4, I'm guessing. 4 of the advanced bullion mints. This will be about 4 bullions is what I'm guessing. So instead of doing 8 bullions, potentially 6 to 8 is what it would be. You would be doing 3 to 5. I don't know how it's going to scale, but I think this is great. There's a bunch of new like floors and stuff for cash. All the mints have been pretty much like redone, but they have like similar rooms and stuff, so it's not completely foreign. Law here, this one's very substantial. This is about a 50% decrease. In fact, from just looking at it, it looks like it's less than 50% of what it used to be. That is insane. Insane. That's a huge drop, huge decrease. But you're also getting more for the facilities. So, I don't know. But there's less cogs, too. So that's something you need to keep in mind, too, for these facilities, is there's less cogs, so it is kind of limited in a way, but with all these other changes, like, it'll probably be fine. It'll probably be better time-wise, for sure, too. I mean, I don't even remember what it is. 8 Office D for this, or 7 Office D, plus like an Office B or something. Yeah, I'm glad that's a huge reduction. And boss here. So this one's also less than 50% of what it used to be, but we'll have to see how this goes with like the fringes and fairways, if that's what they're still called. They've renamed some of the facilities, but yeah, all around really great. I love seeing these reductions. So each, I might have already said this before, but each playground now only has 2 facilities. There's no third variation. I don't necessarily like absolutely love that part. I like having multiple different options. However, having an easy and hard, I'm for difficulties and stuff like that. I've always been an advocate for harder versions of the same thing. I think that's great. When you do like boss fights in other games, like I'll just use like SWTOR, Star Wars: The Old Republic, for example. I used to play that a lot. that game like has heroic mode, and for like a flashpoint, you would go in and you would fight harder enemies. The boss fight would be like a lot harder, and you would get a lot better rewards from doing that. And so there was an incentive to do that compared to the regular standard version. And I think that changes like this are really great because giving people that easy and hard option, it is pretty simple. I would also be like an advocate for doing this for boss fights, but I think that you shouldn't change the boss fights. I think that you should keep them how they are and make a harder version for each one of them. So I've always said this before, but a lot of these changes are like some of my ideas, which is pretty like awesome. I know I'm not the only one with these ideas, but it's really awesome seeing some of these changes implemented. So I'm for like an easy and hard mode for bosses though. I think that adding something like a harder version for like the same tiers, you don't even have to change the tiers. You could just make the harder versions harder in that aspect. So I think that the easy hard difference here is pretty good. So there were a couple other changes too. They mentioned CEO and CEO fight received more attention to address the bloating concerns. So the biggest concern I saw for the CJ fight was that when you throw your evidence, the gavels will block. They have collisions now. They will block your evidence. So if you throw it and it gets blocked, you will not progress as fast in the fight, which means you need to find better positions in the fight, which means that the higher tier it is, the more awkward this becomes, especially if you really can't find a spot. I found that one of the best spots was near the cogs, like right in between the row of 8 cogs, since you have like a clear shot and you can see everything, but it is kind of far and it might affect the stunners, especially if they like to like, I don't know, if they're not like, if they don't like to like lob it or like throw it really far. I don't really know the term, but yeah, that was a pretty substantial change. I gotta be honest, I hope it gets reverted, but yeah, it does make sense. I mean, they are there. Like, it makes sense that they'd have collisions. Why wouldn't they? Yeah, I don't know. It just kind of makes sense. And the CEO, this one just added in level 13s and 14s to the first fight, but otherwise it's unchanged regarding, like, besides those other reinforced plating changes and 2.0 changes that they mentioned earlier. And yeah, so this bottom part, I already mentioned it before. I thought I already covered it, but there's going to be more cog attacks, and boss bots are going to be doing group attacks. So this is going to make your boss facilities more interesting, especially towards the end. Yeah, I guess I could cover that, or probably cover it here. Or maybe I could end it here, I guess. Yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. There's a lot more. There's so much more to talk about. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say in the comments. Please send your feedback to the team too, in a respectful way, please, because they are listening, and I think that the more feedback we provide, we might be able to make this update even better. So hopefully you guys agree. Maybe you don't, and that's fine. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say though. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm Wazzup, and I'm out. Peace.